Welcome to NFL Nexus, everyone. So, the Indianapolis Colts are basically standing on a razor's edge right now. I mean, one single move could finally push them over the top, get them that breakthrough they have been desperately chasing. But the wrong move? Oh, man. The wrong move could send the entire franchise spiraling right back into another long, painful rebuild. And it all boils down to one guy, one absolutely catastrophic injury, and a multi-million-dollar gamble that is literally going to define their future. Today, we're diving deep into what might just be the single most important offseason in Indianapolis history. You know, this quote right here from some anonymous NFL exec, it hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the whole crazy paradox of the Indianapolis Colts, doesn't it? Here's a team that was on the absolute brink of being great, and now they're staring down into a potential abyss. It's this wild story of incredible hope, just gut-wrenching frustration, and it all pivots on one single career-defining injury that changed absolutely everything. Trust me, this isn't just about what happens next season. This is about the next 5, maybe even 10 years of Colts football. All right, so to really get the crushing weight of the decision that's sitting on the Colts front office desk, we have to rewind the tape. We got to go back to the 2025 season. Because that year, wow, it was a year that started with a total blaze of glory and ended in, well, a fiery crash. It was a classic tale of two completely different teams, a season of two totally distinct halves, and the whole thing hinged on one single, brutal, awful moment of misfortune. I mean, just think about it. For the first 10 weeks of the season, the Colts were the darlings of the entire league. Everybody was talking about them. They're sitting at 8-2, they have a commanding lead in the AFC South, and you could hear that Super Bowl buzz getting louder and louder every single week. They hit their bye week riding an absolute high. But then the bye week came and went, and it was like a curse just descended on that team, a 7-game losing streak. I mean, a total, utter collapse that ended in the one injury that just shattered their championship dreams into a million pieces, a torn Achilles for their quarterback, Daniel Jones. So you're probably asking, what on earth happened, right? How does a team that looks like a legitimate contender turn into a complete train wreck in just a few weeks? Well, the answer is a mountain of injuries. It was like a plague just swept through that locker room after the bye. Key players were dropping like flies, one after another. But look, while a lot of guys got sidelined, it was the loss of their quarterback that was the final devastating straw. That's what completely broke the Colts back, and you could argue their will to win. And that single injury, that one moment, brings us directly to the heart of this entire mess. It's the decision that's going to define this franchise for years to come. It is a high-stakes gamble on a player who is, at the exact same time, their greatest hope and their absolute biggest risk. We're talking about Daniel Jones. So do they bet the house on him, or do they fold their hand and walk away? And here it is. This is the whole paradox of Daniel Jones laid bare for everyone to see. On one hand, you have the promise. You've got a quarterback who, playing under the brilliant offensive mind of Shane Steichen, looked like the answer to their prayers. I mean, people were saying he was the first true franchise QB since Andrew Luck walked away. Career high completion percentage, over 3,000 yards passing, and that dual threat ability that absolutely terrified defenses. But then you have to look at the other side of the coin, the peril. A player with a deeply troubling injury history, one that ends with a devastating Achilles tear that could rob him of the exact athleticism that makes him so special in the first place. So what do you do? I mean, seriously, put yourself in GM Chris Ballard's shoes for a second. What do you do? Do you bet on the player who gave you that tantalizing, incredible glimpse of greatness? The guy who made you believe you could actually win a Super Bowl? Or do you fold, just absolutely terrified of the catastrophic injury risk that could cripple your franchise for the foreseeable future? That's the question that's going to keep him up at night, and believe me, there is no easy answer. Let's be really clear about what we're talking about here. An Achilles tear is a football player's absolute nightmare. This is not a sprain. It's not a strain. It is a complete, violent rupture of the tendon that gives an athlete all their explosive power. We're talking their burst, their speed, their ability to cut on a dime. And for a mobile quarterback like Daniel Jones, whose legs are a legitimate weapon, well, it's a potentially career-altering injury. It's the kind of thing that could steal his greatest asset and leave him a shell of the player he used to be. And you know, if the Colts front office needs a terrifying, real-world example of what can go wrong, they don't have to look very far. The grim reality of an Achilles tear is staring them right in the face, every single day, in their own building. His name is Samson Ebukam, and he is a living, breathing cautionary tale for this exact situation. Just look at this. The numbers do not lie. In 2023, before the injury, Samson Ebukam was a monster, an absolute pass-rushing force who terrorized quarterbacks and led the team with 9.5 sacks. Then, bam,
The Achilles tear wipes out his entire 2024 season. He rehabbed, he fought his way back for 2025, but he was a ghost. Just 2 sacks. He was a shadow of the player he once was. This right here, this is the nightmare scenario for the Colts, and it's a very, very real possibility with Daniel Jones.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, what about the other guy? What about the high draft pick Anthony Richardson? Well, that's the other part of this twisted puzzle that makes the Daniel Jones decision so absolutely critical. See, Richardson had his chance to be the guy in 2025, but he couldn't beat out Jones in training camp. Then, in one of the most bizarre twists of fate you'll ever hear, a resistance band accident fractured his orbital bone, landing him on injured reserve again. With his own concerning injury history and a massive decision on his fifth-year option coming up, the Colts just can't afford to bet their future on a player who's been more of a question mark than an answer. And believe it or not, the fallout from the Daniel Jones decision doesn't just stop at the quarterback position. Oh no, it creates this massive domino effect that could end up costing the Colts one of their most dangerous and explosive offensive weapons. It's threatening to dismantle the very offense they're trying so hard to build. I want you to focus on one number, 20. That's the number that defines wide receiver Alec Pierce. For 2 straight seasons, he has averaged over 20 yards every single time he touches the football. Folks, that isn't just good, that is elite territory. He is a legitimate game breaker, a defense stretcher. He's the kind of player that forces defensive coordinators to completely change their entire game plan just because he's on the field. And in 2025, he proved he's way more than just a deep threat. He is a true #1 receiver in the making. He shattered that 1,000-yard mark for the very first time, and get this, he did it with a staggering efficiency that just proves his value. Just 47 catches to get there. That's insane. He's not just some role player, he's a cornerstone piece of this passing attack. And of course, he's about to hit free agency and get paid. Perfect timing for him, terrible timing for the Colts. And this is exactly where that Daniel Jones contract gamble comes crashing right back into the picture. As Sean Ackerman over at SI.com writes, the fates of these 2 crucial players are completely, inextricably linked. Let that sink in. The amount of money, and maybe more importantly, the amount of risk the Colts are willing to take on at the recovering quarterback will directly decide if they can afford to keep their star receiver. It's a zero-sum game, folks, and someone is probably going to lose out. Because, look, this isn't just about evaluating talent and reading doctors' reports. It's about money. And the cold, hard, unforgiving reality of the NFL salary cap is about to make this impossibly difficult decision even more complicated for Indianapolis. This is where the rubber really meets the road. $30 million. That's the Colts' war chest heading into this offseason. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a healthy number, right? But in the NFL, when you have to carve out a massive chunk of that for a starting quarterback, even an injured one, and then you have to turn right around and try to re-sign a star receiver on the open market, well, that $30 million starts to evaporate very, very quickly. And here's where it gets really scary for Indy. While the Colts are trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, other teams who desperately need a receiver are just swimming in cash. You got teams like the Raiders, the Titans, the Seahawks. They're armed with over $75 million in cap space. They can walk into a negotiation with Alec Pierce and just make him an offer that the Colts simply cannot match. It is a financial mismatch of epic proportions. They're bringing a knife to a gunfight. I mean, just look at this chart. It tells the whole brutal story. You got a team like the Giants who might be a logical fit for Pierce, but they're basically out of the running with no money. Then you have the Colts, stuck right in the middle, trying to scrape together a competitive offer with extremely limited resources. And then, towering over them are the Sharks, circling in the water with more money than they know what to do with. It's a bidding war that, let's be honest, the Colts are almost destined to lose unless Chris Ballard can pull some kind of magic trick out of his hat. So this is it. This is the whole thing, the culmination of a season that had incredible hope and absolute heartbreak. It's this messy intersection of elite talent, devastating injury, and brutal financial reality. And right at the center of it all is one man, General Manager Chris Ballard. He's the architect of this team, and now he's faced with a franchise-altering puzzle that can make or break his entire legacy in Indianapolis. No pressure. The path forward is an absolute minefield of difficult decisions. Imagine you're him. First, you have to weigh the immense medical risk of a career-altering injury against the tantalizing potential of a true franchise quarterback. Then, you have to somehow thread the needle on a contract that rewards Jones for his stellar play without mortgaging the team's entire future on a damaged asset. After that, you have to find a way to keep your star receiver with whatever cash is left over. And you have to do all of this knowing that you are being massively outgunned financially by the competition. It is a high-wire act with absolutely no safety net.
Okay, that was a lot, I know. We've laid out all the facts, we've presented all the evidence, but now I really genuinely want to hear from you. What would you do if you were in Chris Ballard's shoes? Let me know your plan down in the comments below. And hey, if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive into the NFL, please make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus and hit that like button. It is the single best way to support the channel, and it helps us keep bringing you the stories that truly matter in the league.
And one more thing, if you really want to show your support, we've actually got something pretty cool for you. We've created a whole line of NFL-themed coloring books. They're perfect for fans of any age, kids, grandkids, even adults. It's a fun way to relax and show your team pride, and honestly, it's a fantastic way to help us keep making the content you love. You can find the link for that right there in the description below.
So here we are, the Indianapolis Colts are at a tipping point. A single moment in time where one decision, one way or another, will change the course of their franchise forever. Will they bet on hope and risk it all for a chance at greatness with Daniel Jones? Or will they play it safe, let their key pieces walk, and maybe condemn themselves to a future of just being okay? It's a breakthrough or a breakdown. The stakes have never been higher, and you better believe the entire league is watching. Thanks for hanging out with us here on NFL Nexus.